With Namibia's opening match against New Zealand in London now just days away, it's fitting to look back on their journey to England 2015, a journey that began in Antananarivo in Madagascar. Namibia were the outright favourites to qualify for an unprecedented 5th Rugby World Cup, an incredible feat for a country with only 2 million people and less than 1,000 registered senior rugby players. They knew it was going to be difficult. How difficult, no one could have predicted.
I never thought, or we never thought, that it will only be go in and win and get out. At the back of our mind, we hoped it will be easy. We hoped that it will be just flying in, play the 3 matches and getting out of there, but it didn't happen like that.
Namibia's first opponents were Kenya, a match every Namibian supporter would have expected their team to win and do so comfortably. After all, Namibia had beaten Kenya 5 times out of their 7 meetings. Their previous encounter in November 2013 ended in a convincing 55-35 victory for Namibia. The men in blue had at their disposal a number of their overseas-based players back for the qualification tournament, as well as Ronaldo Botma, a highly talented player from the Pumas in South Africa who was making his debut for the country. But Kenya harboured World Cup ambitions of their own, and had spent a lot of money and resources in attempting to qualify for the Rugby World Cup for a first time. 2 early tries from wing Heinrich Schmidt put Namibia into a 12-0 lead, and they and everyone else thought the match had been won.
Yeah, to be honest, I think we did kind of stagnated a bit after that few great tries from Heinrich. We kind of lost patience a bit, we lost control of the game, and Kenya, fought back bravely and, actually showed us that, you don't win a game in the first 20 minutes, and at the end of the day, we paid the price for it.
At half-time, Namibia were leading 12-7. In the second half, Namibia were matched all the way by a Kenyan side growing in confidence all the time. Otieno, Kayange and Chitendo all crossed to level the scores at 22-all. Then Andrew Amonde scored the winning try. The final score 29-22 to Kenya. And the Kenyans celebrated like they'd qualified for the World Cup. This, after all, was the match that could determine the winner. And for all practical purposes, Namibia's World Cup dreams were shattered.
Losing to Kenya was probably one of the biggest upsets I've ever encountered. I remember when the final whistle went, I looked around and I could see all our players scattered like sheep. We were just stunned and we were all over the place. And we just had no direction, so I was one of the guys who just called in everyone, so we just huddled up and we just said that we'll talk about it at the hotel and just wanted to get away from there.
Still reeling from their shock defeat to Kenya, Namibia had to regroup for their next match against Zimbabwe, who'd picked up a bonus point in beating Madagascar 57-22. Namibia's reversal to Kenya had opened the door for Zimbabwe, and the country who last went to the World Cup in 1991 and their first appearance in 1987 knew they had a shot. Namibia laboured to a 24-20 win, but failed to score a bonus point, and their World Cup dreams were slowly fading away.
We were put under a lot of pressure by Zim, and they played some fantastic rugby. And but the guys dug deep. We pulled it through, although not the win that we wanted at that stage. A win is a win, and you're never going to give that away. You always want to take a win. But we were under immense pressure after that.
Going into the final day of the qualification tournament, Namibia were in fact lying in 3rd position behind Zimbabwe and Kenya, and their chances of qualification were very slim. In all probability, the winner of the opening match of the day between Zimbabwe and Kenya would qualify for the Rugby World Cup. For the better part of this match, Zimbabwe outplayed Kenya, and it looked like they were England-bound, but still needed a bonus point to secure the tournament win. Late in the match, Zimbabwe, leading 25-10, were awarded a penalty. Everyone expected they'd go for touch and try for the line-out. Inexplicably, they decided to go for posts. Preparing for their match against Madagascar behind the in-goal area, the Namibians, still thinking they were pretty much out of it, could hardly concentrate on warming up, and they knew exactly what was going on.
Yes, I actually couldn't believe my eyes when they didn't go for the try. I think in their minds, they only thought they would have to win the game. They focused on their own game. That I don't think they thought about us maybe being able to score 80 to 90 points if it had to come to that. And they did what they had to do. They only had to win the game, and they did that.
Zimbabwe won 28-10 but failed to score that crucial bonus point. Kenya's 34-point win over Madagascar early in the week had given Namibia the very slightest of chances. They had to beat Madagascar by a margin of 54 points to qualify. The final score, 89-10.
The Madagascar tournament is a special part of my life. It's something I will never forget. Playing the All Blacks is going to be special, but it's always about how we got there. And standing there against that board was one of the happiest days of my life, because we sang from our hearts. We were just over the moon. What seemed impossible has become possible. So it's something I'll definitely tell my grandkids about one day.
It's kind of gives the guys a bigger purpose, because we know in that 80 minutes it was out of our hands for a moment, and then something greater steps in, and just the feeling afterwards lifting that trophy, knowing we're going to the World Cup, the guys were ecstatic.